What's up, friends? This is Manni, and yesterday I gave you all the cold hard numbers from the ship rebalance in terms of yaw, pitch, roll for all the ships, right? Some of that was good, like the F8C for instance, some of that was not so good, like Corsair and F7A. We're gonna test that together, also the Cutlass series, and we're also even going to include the Glaive and make a side-by-side comparison of F7A versus F8C. Okay, so let's get into this, ladies and gents. And since I'm getting asked a lot what armor this is and what helmet, let me just quickly demonstrate or show this to you. It is the Deadhead helmet Windfall and the Ari Core Quicksilver variant that also brings its own Quicksilver backpack that was in this some kind of skin pack for this gray cat thing. By the way, in my videos I also like to include some extra trivia information when the opportunity arises. For instance, did you know you can have 4 times size 4 and 2 size 3s on an F7A? That goes by adding the TMS 5B ball turret from the F7 Hornet Mark II Heartseeker upgrade kit that was available on the RSI page a little while ago for $30. I can't find it now, but I was able to find it in my own hangar and display it here for you on screen. And I know that Star Hunger and Impound have offers for this, but yeah, so this is the only way I know of that you can have quad size 4s and double size 3 with a special F7A nose turret on the F7, okay? And also having insane levels of firepower. I would, by the way, recommend using attritions then for the nose laser weapons, dropping shield super effectively quick and having the similar projectile speed. Now, you see we're going with the pitch. That is the pitch test without boost, and now we're starting the pitch test with boost, okay? All right, there we go. And you see the pitch is faster, much faster than the yaw. The yaw test comes now, and just take a look at how much longer it takes to completely yaw 360, okay? With or without boost. Boost always comes second. And this is also why, if you're wondering or interested in becoming a better dogfighter, whenever somebody dives away from you, you use a combination of roll and pitch to follow him. Right? If he goes sideways, you roll after him 90 degrees and pitch after him, because you're much faster in following his movement by doing it this way, rather than, you know, yawing after him left or right wise. Okay? Very important tip here for PvP. Now, you see the mobility of the F7 is not terrible. It is still pretty good after the PTU update and its heavy nerf. If you're not aware what I'm talking about, check out yesterday's video that got a lot of attention, by the way. Very nice to see. And also it showcases and summarizes all of the mobility changes that came in. The F7 had, by the way, before the Iron Scale skin, and this year is the Shockwave skin for the F8C that was available to those who reached the 10K mark on the RSI spending page. Not that I'm proud of it, but I know some people will ask the questions, what skin is that? It's called the Shockwave skin, and so far the only cool skin there is for this ship, in my opinion. However, there is one coming, or we've already seen it, for the F8A, coming from and on the Invictus. We have seen it standing around, and it also looked cool, right? Anyways, let's go back to pitch. Okay, pitch test on the F8. Pretty well, it's slower. You can tell it's much slower, and in a minute we're also going to compare it side by side with the F7. Okay, now this is the pitch with boost usage, a little faster but not much different, and then we're going with yaw again. And in the case of the F8, I feel like the yaw is not actually that much slower compared to the pitch, but on the F7 it was a lot slower. Okay, and by the way, if you enjoy the content and also the way how in the way how I'm a perfectionist, really want to get things perfect and work it out right for you, then stay tuned and subscribe to the channel and be ready for the next videos. I would really love to have you guys around for that as well. Yeah, so roll is also okay, and this is, by the way, the boosted up now improved F8C. Okay, it is more mobile, more maneuverable now in the PTU, which is what you're seeing right now. Okay, just to make that clear one more time. Also, little info here on how much bigger the F8 actually is compared to the F7. Just putting them on top of each other. That's why it is so much easier to hit an F8 compared to an F7, no matter what maneuvers they fly. Now, let's get into the side-by-side. You see left F7A, right F8C. The F7A completed a full pitch 360 now. And the F8 needed a good 3 seconds longer to get the same thing done. And when it comes to yaw, though, interestingly enough, like I pointed out before, there isn't actually much difference between F7A and F8C. There is now only like 1.5 or even just 1 second. Let's go over to the Corsair, which pains me a lot. By the way, still no drinking bottle there anymore. Where is it? Where has it gone? Now, oh gosh, what was the skin on this one called? Sorry, I forgot. But yeah, so we're testing the Corsair. By the way, I did not include the Constellation Taurus here, because I'm displaying it right here for you. They're basically the same, right? What the Corsair now does is basically the same that you'll see on the Taurus. With the exception that one has one more here and the other has one more there. But it's basically the same. So we may as well leave the Taurus out of this and test it with the Corsair, because they're virtually the same in terms of their maneuverability now. And you see that when flying around in the hangar, I barely have time to space to maneuver. The ship is already larger, but also because it's limited mobility. All right, let's see how sad this is going to be, my friends. This is the full unboosted pitch. Oh my goodness, dude. That is so slow. You know, but it wasn't long ago, when before the Corsair nerf and the F8 buff, interestingly enough, the F8 felt to me similar to this. Really. So I'm so happy about the change with the F8, but I'm so sad about this one, because I love the Corsair for being this perfect daily driver. Okay, so that was boosted. Now we're going into yaw. And this is even more painful. I mean, just look at that. It almost feels like the Polaris before it received its immobility rebalance. Oh, it really does, dude. That is just so freaking slow. I almost don't want to do it again for the boost because it takes so long. I was looking at the video, I've seen it here right now in Adobe Premiere, where I'm adding the post commentary to it. The bobblehead isn't even bobbling here in the Corsair. That's how little wobbling is there. But yeah, I'm seeing the duration of 15 minutes and 30 seconds, pretty much the duration of this video. I was like, wait a minute, how did that get to 15 plus minutes? How is that possible? All I do is like 5 ships and turn 3 times, right? It's probably because the Corsair. All right, let's see the sad roll. Oh my gosh. Oof. Big oof. Yeah, that's very slow. And also this turning after, right? After you finish turning, you have to give counter rotational thrust to break your rotation speed. Oof, that is so slow. Okay, so that's the Corsair, my friends. Also, a little bit of an extra tip. Bind yourself the open all button somewhere, because it's so useful for ships like the Corsair. Not only can you already open the ramp to the back with the same button, but also all the doors inside the ship will open, which allows you to leave the ship in like 5 seconds or whatever. From getting up on the chair, okay, it's 5 seconds speed up. No, actually it's like 3 or 4. But yeah, you can leave the ship super quick. Bind yourself that button, guys. Also interesting, by the way, my ships were piling up because I never stored them. I always retrieved a new one, and they were piling up and piling up. They just stand there. So now you can basically get the Orza rover deployed first, move it to the side, then bring in a ship, and you'll be able to have both of them and load the Orza into the ship, right? So you don't have to park the Orza on the sidelines anymore, if that's what I'm... Yeah. Also, another little info is that the Cutlass is, from what I know, the only ship that has a little disco lights going on around it when you activate the lights, because it will then use the emergency light thing that it has. The Cutlass maneuvers a lot better than the Corsair. Although the Cutlass has also been hit really hard with the recent rebalance. Again, if you have not seen yesterday's video, guys, you should really check it out. It summarizes everything short and sweet for you, as short and sweet as it was possible for me to do with so many changes. yeah, so okay, and also again, if you do enjoy those videos, please stay subscribed and be there for the next one. And if you are not even a Star Citizen player, I have my referral code linked down below. If you're interested, use it. It gives you some extra credits upon registering and also helps me out because I have a goal with these referrals where I would like to get now that the new referral system comes in. I want the Idris M because I can't get it in any other way. But maybe we can do it together this way in time. But yeah, so we're doing the boosted version of the yaw now, and you see the Cutlass actually moves relatively well. I would say it's similar to the F8 at this point. And with that, not far from the F7 either, right? So very interesting. The even after the nerf, the Cutlass series still seems to be relatively mobile, right? It has been hit pretty hard, but it's still really, really good for its size. I mean, this is the same ship size, hangar size that you get when you spawn a Corsair or the Cutlass. You need the same medium hangar, right? But of course, the Cutlass is a bit smaller than the Corsair. Maybe even more than a bit. Alright, so last test, my friends, it's the Glaive, which also got some nice improvements. As you see here on screen, I also always show for each ship that is being mentioned here the contributing changes that came to it. Alright, so this is how you get into the Glaive. Very interesting. I think many of you guys have not seen this ship yet. And as that, it is also my responsibility as the one showing it to you for the first time to tell you that these wings, they are actually blades. That's also partly or a reason why the blade is called the blade. Also the technically a Vanduul ship now made by Esperia, the human faction that specializes in converting alien technology to human technology. That's what the difference between Vanduul and Esperia is. And these blades here, these are meant to rip open enemy ships. You're actually meant to scratch them by flying by and doing extreme additional amounts of damage. At least lore-wise, that is the sense behind these blades on the Glaive and Blade. They're actually melee weapons, if you will. And that is super interesting because we know that the collision damage in Star Citizen is so high, you basically insta-pop when you just scratch somebody in mid-flight. But yeah, it's in some way or in some form CIG has imagined these ships to be able to get away with, I wouldn't call it ramming, but somehow utilizing those blades on their wings. Yeah, it's not yet a useful strategy unless you want to risk getting blown up yourself. But yeah, so you see the Glaive is actually really mobile here on the pitch. It got some nice boosts, and also in the boosted version is very impressive actually. Look at this. It's pretty good. It's really strong for a ship that carries double size 5s and 2 size 1s as armaments. That is pretty nice. Not gonna lie. I like that. The yaw is of course slower as usual, but it is not as much slower as I would say the F7A. The F7 has this big difference between yaw and pitch. Very, very high difference there. And rolling also super quick even without the boost. And with boost, it is even more. So yeah, I'm that concludes basically this video. I am hoping you guys had a good time with it. Tell me what you think about it. Is the F7, does it seem too slow for you now? Remember, I've seen a lot of you guys' comments telling me what you feel about these changes. Most people did not like the change for Corsair, Taurus, and F7. Many people were asking why the F7 nerf. I believe it is because the firepower of the F7, and this is another trivia, is actually higher than the F8. The F8 brings 4 times size 2, 4 times size 3, and under continuous firing, it has more firepower with more higher energy reserves. But the volley, the sheer burst damage output is actually higher in the F7A. Even with only the 2 size 4s and 4 size 3s, you bring a higher burst damage than even a heavy F8C fighter. But yet you had the mobility of a light fighter, right? So I believe this is probably a reason why they're changing some of that, especially to the F7 series. But with the suggested version that I've told you before, with the quad size 4 and double size 3, that firepower gets even higher, especially now since you're firing projectiles and you're very dangerous for things that rely on turrets or modules, you know, that you can now scrap from ships using heavy projectile ammunition. You could make a full projectile build, although technically projectiles are not really viable option in the game yet, at least not for mission running or PvP. They're just too slow and not enough ammo. But what they can be used in is strip ships of modules, and I believe that is probably what they're meant to be. But anyways, too much talk. Let's see you in the next video. Manni signing off. Bye bye, my friends.